Fun fact about me is that I was born more than once. The first two times were noteworthy, yet eventful only for myself. The first one was from my mom, and the second one was when I flew to New York for the first ever time. But the rebirth that I want to talk to you about was a secret anti-aging treatment, which for some reason I kept hidden from everyone around me. It was back in 2010. I was approaching my 40s. My life had been a roller coaster ride of ups and downs for 2 decades, like anyone else. But for me, that time was super intense. My 20s were a marathon of medical school exams while dealing with one arranged marriage after another in trying to start a family. By the way, when you live and grow up in Pakistan, you don't date. You marry someone chosen for you. I passed my medical school exams, but the marriages were a speed dating nightmare. On top of this, to my dismay, I also developed a skin condition called psoriasis. Now, psoriasis is not fatal. It just exhibits annoyingly chronic skin erosions, which are mostly stress-related, and they can pop up anywhere, anytime, totally unannounced. In other words, it doesn't kill you, but it can kill your love life. Now, in my mid-20s, I also immigrated from Pakistan to America to start yet a new life with another arranged marriage, but this time to a guy with a perfect resume. I quickly had a daughter, and thankfully, motherhood cured me of many of my ailments, including my psoriasis, and motivated me to pursue my dream of becoming a doctor again, this time in the country of my dreams, United States of America. This was a place that held more freedoms for me than my motherland of birth. A place which promised a safer space for growth for my daughter. And I dove headfirst to gain rite of passage into the medical system in the United States. A decade later, as I was in the midst of terminating my last arranged marriage, and despite being a successful doctor in New York, as I looked at my face, I could see the march of 2 stressful decades in the form of cracks that etched across my skin. And they wouldn't disappear even after beachside vacations, a lot of sleep, and the topical skincare routines of my favorite stars. It was then that a friend mentioned Botox, which was like all great discoveries accidentally discovered by 2 ophthalmologists working on a totally different project. It was a novel way to reverse your skin age. Now remember, at that time I was a practicing doctor in New York, and I was assisting a local plastic surgeon. So one day I asked this plastic surgeon in New York, who's also a lady from Pakistan, and she's a hijab-wearing, conservative, very well-respected plastic surgeon, for my first ever Botox treatment. Maybe it was love at first shot, or was it my first shot at loving myself? This painting, this is not me. It's the famous painting by an Italian Renaissance artist, Orazio Gentileschi. I hope I'm pronouncing the name correctly. However, it shows Danae. It's called Danae and the Shower of Gold. This painting represents Zeus making love to Danae, because Zeus is a god and Danae is a mere mortal. He comes to her as a shower of gold, so that his true form does not kill her. From this meeting of an immortal god and a mortal human, Perseus is born. He goes on to accomplish many great deeds, including killing Medusa, who was so ugly that her mere appearance turned men into stone. So I relate to the story it represents after getting my own anti-aging treatment. Whatever it was it love at first shot or whatever it was, maybe it was the first time I felt love for myself. It was the first day that I felt time had stopped for my skin, even though the bustle of the world continued on. Within a week, I discovered the modern medical magic of reversing my skin age by a decade. I compared my new pictures to older versions of me, and not only did I look better, but I knew I felt better as I re-experienced an upgraded version of me at 40, still looking like I was not even 30. Botox not only erased my frown lines and crow's feet, but also lifted my negative emotions that I carried in my heart over wasting more than a decade of my life living with people I didn't love or doing things that I didn't care for. A small amount of anti-aging medication had given me power over my aging and reversed the damage of a stressful decade or two. I know what you're thinking about Botox. And believe me, I had the same exact problems. Not only these treatments were super expensive when done by the right people, but also they didn't last long. And even though they're FDA approved, they're not covered by your insurance because they're considered cosmetic. And I had good insurance. I was a doctor. This was the start of my journey with baby steps into learning anti-aging techniques in the magical world of aesthetic medicine. Today, I invite you to open yourself up to the value of vanity and its various applications for the future of your well-being. I want to inform you that it's a mistake to be vain about not being vain. As a retired geriatrician who has worked in the field of anti-aging for over a decade now, I know that our beauty span is closely related and relevant to our health span. Now, these might be unfamiliar terms for you, but remember, they're important and they can improve the quality of your overall life. Here is my first boring-looking graph, which actually shows you that there is this research that they did from over 70 countries that shows that the happiest decade of human life is when people are in their 80s, if they're still healthy. Like other organs that fail with aging, skin, the largest organ that we have, also fails. So just like your heart, or your kidney, or your brain, they age and decline and eventually fail, the skin also ages and starts to exhibit signs of failure. Now, when the skin fails, it falls. And as it falls, it also drags your psyche down with it. Skin failure will make you lose the architecture and elasticity of your face and body. Humans have internalized the memory of negative stereotypes related to aging through genes, culture, social media. So when the face staring back at you in the mirror appears old, your physical health will suffer. Here is another boring-looking graph. However, it is super important. It is a very, very important research that is done by Becca Levy, who is a Yale public health professor. And this shows that positive attitudes about aging are extremely important to health and well-being later in life. The diagram on the left shows that people with positive age beliefs have much lower levels of stress hormone cortisol than people with negative age beliefs. Cortisol is one of the main stress hormones, and elevated levels are associated with broad range of health problems from heart disease to dementia. The diagram on the right shows that people with positive beliefs about aging live on average 7.5 years longer than people with negative age beliefs. All this is not new information. There are many authors who have tackled this subject, which you may want to read. Here are some of the books that have been written. In 2019, I published a book, Do We Really Need Botox? A Handbook of Anti-Aging, which mentions the problems related to aging and some recommended solutions for this age-old problem of tackling our mortality. Anti-aging and aesthetic medicine can preserve the integrity of your skin and architecture of your face through the entirety of your lifespan, and not just for a few short, young years. Your health span is tied to your sense of vanity. Rejuvenating your skin as you go through time may seem like vanity, but keeping your skin intact and healthy can contribute substantially to your ability to maintain a positive self-image, remain vital, productive, sexually active, and to extend health and meaningful activity into the later stages of your life. I learned all this because a decade ago, I also retired as a geriatrician to solely work in the field of anti-aging medicine. At that point, I was a medical director of a nursing facility with a short-term rehab capacity. I followed patients through not just their acute breakdowns in the hospital, which landed them in the hospital. I prided myself in understanding the nature of aging, alongside the various 21st century medications and procedures available to prolong their life. But nothing helped the people in assisted care or nursing homes return to full health, happiness, or flourishing. Instead, the people who can still think clearly refer to nursing facility as the waiting rooms of hell, and their occasional life-saving visits to the hospital as visits to hell with no way out other than dying sooner or later from one thing or another. I remember reminding them that the roads to hell are paved with angels who swear an oath to assist you in not only keeping you out of there, but also easing your path back into life and health. But in America, we age like Tithonus, the man in Greek mythology with whom the goddess of dawn, Aurora, fell in love with. She was so smitten by his beauty and song that she went to Zeus and asked for a perpetual life for him. Her wish was granted, but the gift of immortality turned sour because she forgot to ask for the side order of youth and capacity of rejuvenation. He got so old, weak, and feeble that to relieve some of his pain and misery, she turned him into a cicada, a cricket, so she could still hear him sing at night, but she doesn't have to look at him. The lack of agency over aging for the elderly in the last decade of their lifespan, despite all the big spend on medications and facilities, is now becoming strikingly evident. My understanding of successful aging deepened after a decade's work building and running an anti-aging center. I no longer feared aging because we started proactively learning to manage it better. Philosophically, I know that control is partly an illusion, but I also see in my daily practice the power I bring to my patients over the process of aging. And I know firsthand how a tiny dose of medicine helped me control not just my perception of self, but also my mood, my health, and my energy. The house of cicada has no mirrors. Something that I noted in the nursing home was a lack of mirrors. People hated to look at themselves. Seeing in their reflections the declining architecture of their faces made them uniformly sad. As I trained in the newly developing field of anti-aging, I realized that most of the sadness was from accepting defeat as their body was disintegrating. They told poignant jokes about grappling with the cognitive dissonance caused by aging naturally while trying to remain graceful about it. The human race has tried to gain agency over aging for hundreds of years. Indeed, modern medicine has helped us double, even triple our lifespans over the past century. But at the same time, it has medicalized aging, treating it like an inevitable process of decline, or even worse, simply a disease. Our healthcare system has brought us to a point where we do everything possible to stay alive, yet dread being old. This is where anti-aging medicine intervenes to revolutionize both medicine and getting older. Here is another very important research by Becca Levy. On the left, you see people who have positive age beliefs activated increase in their physical activity remarkably over an 8-week period. On the right is one of Levy's most important and amazing findings, which says people with positive age beliefs have a much smaller incidence of Alzheimer's, even among people with a genetic predisposition for the disease. Dear kids, anti-aging is the health and wellness of your future. Vanity is a skill which you can learn to develop. Now, your mom and dad may have told you to ignore and definitely not focus upon it, unless you're a girl of a certain age. But guess what? They were wrong. I wish for you to redefine the value a judicious amount of vanity may hold for you. Today is yet another day to remind yourself to connect with the beauty and miracle of your existence. And you surely know that you have connected with all the possible versions of your true self through time when it fails to give you anything but joy of being alive daily, being energetic daily, being healthy, and seeking to say no thank you to aging daily. History is not just a tale of chaos, repeating our ancestral mistakes over and over, but also a story of humans adapting to change. In the realm of human health and lifespan, we have to shift the paradigm to maintain proactive agency over the perception of the beauty of your existence, for not just the few years that you're young and vibrant, but instead for the entirety of your lifespan. And for that reason, vanity is not a dirty word. Viva la beauty. Thank you.